Get in touch with it. Build a relationship with it. Begin to comprehend its magic. You live in a blind world of wishing and hoping and planning and strategizing and struggling. That's not a human existence. That is not a human existence. A human existence, truly a humane existence, means being humane to you, would allow you to recognize the fact, to recognize the fact, to know it again, that you have this phenomenon. That if you actually began to activate this phenomenon, that you would view your world, you would then find your direction in balance. You would then lean into keeping yourself planted in boredom, moderation. You would lean into action. And then you would let the universal grace deliver the result. And the delivery of the result would explain to you where you are. Your desire explains to you who you are. The journey of life is from where you are to who you are. So as long as you don't reject the reflection, as long as you don't reject the outcome, moment to moment, but allow the outcome to register to you, where am I? Because as long as you know where you are, you've got a map to who you are. So do I. So do we. This is who you are, who we are, who I and you are. We are equals. It's meaningful in its meaninglessness that I'm a few decades in advance to you. It just really means that I had longer to travel. You're a quicker study. I was able to study at his feet, actually next to him, driving his car. He was captive. As long as I kept moving, the doors kept locked, I had him. And he was one of the many masters that is able to produce masters. You are on your way to mastery. You will not be satisfied. You will not be satisfied with winning the lottery. You will not be satisfied with fulfilling your profession. You will only be satisfied with your enlightenment. You might have all kinds of micro desires and mini desires in between you and the macro desire of enlightenment. They're tricks God plays on us to keep us facing in the right direction or have such a bad activity in the wrong direction that we learn our lesson each and every moment. Bad lessons are really good. Good lessons are really good. That gateway that you want to travel through takes you out of the sensory wheel of time, of time's illusion, shaped by all the reflective interactions that we have with everything in our path. Maintained and protected by our very primitive reticular formation and our very noisy parietal lobes. Protected by the identity that we have formulated over lifetimes and generations. We carry our parents' identity, our grandparents' identity, and we carry identity from 7 generations. We carry identity from tens of thousands of lifetimes and incarnations. And what you want to do is you want to release your id, the ego, entity, which is identity. You release that, you begin to release the instinctual behavior patterns and the noise that keeps you locked into the subconscious. You stop reacting to the reaction. You move back, you begin to choose this part of the way, which is in the faith, the trust, the devotion, the inspiration, the enthusiasm, the balance, the boredom. All of a sudden you expand the brain, you slip through the gateway, the window into higher consciousness, and you begin to experience time as it's just coming off the lens of how you actually exist. The lens of your genetic code combined with your cosmic code. The soul body and the physical body creating that lens is really the purpose and the means of that purpose in your life. And you get here every day. By chanting, you knock out all this parietal lobe and you reduce the control of the reticular formation. You stretch into your body glove and you stop having these conditions in the sensory system that are just sort of knee-jerk conditions. You start to stretch your body into new shapes. I had somebody the other day, they said, I don't know what you did. I said, I didn't do anything. That they had come to class on Monday night and gone to Pilates on Tuesday morning. And in the Pilates class on Tuesday morning, they could do things that their body could never do. And you know what? It wasn't so much what we did physically as it was what we did energetically in the room. A lot of which is also Om Namo Guru Dev Namo Guru Dev, because by the end of that, we're not letting our arms down. We're pulling hard. Yeah, we're singing loud. Huh? That loosens up the body, doesn't it? Yes. You know why? Because body is 70 to 75% water. Anything that's 70 to 75% water, that's stiff, has got an attitude of stiffness. So when you're doing this, and you don't care that you look like a complete fool, you're losing your stiff attitude that keeps you. How are you? Not too bad. What does that mean, not too bad? Does that mean bad but not too bad? Or not too bad? Or not bad at all? You get back in here, and in this area, you actually hear, you actually feel, you actually see, you actually experience the actual qualities of prana, the life force coming straight through your lens, which is physical ease that all disease is built on, emotional joy that all other emotions are built on, mental knowing, which means intuition, which every other ignorance is built on. Ignorance is just a distortion of knowing. And spiritual liberation, enlightenment, freedom, whatever you want to call it. You hear those echoes. You can experience those echoes. You see those echoes. You relate to those echoes. It's like, my God, I am who I am. Imagine that. I am who I am. Imagine. I am who I always thought I am, who now I know I am, kinda. And it's getting stronger. You know how you feel when you end the class and we're just, and you walk up to somebody in that state. Without a judgment, you can read them. can read them. You can totally read them. And as long as you don't judge the reading, you can maintain the capacity to read. The moment you start judging the reading, then you will lose the capacity to read. You can read them. You can say, wow, it's an embryo. It's an embryo. It's a newcomer into human existence. What do you do when you come into a room of children? Do you go, oh man, this is just a room of kids? Some people do. Or do you kind of get down and be a bit of a kid with the kids? Because that's who you are. So when you come into a room of kids, or a group of kids, meaning, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old embryos, or fetuses. The embryos are just learning how to be an identity. The fetuses are maximizing their identity and trying to use their identity to influence other identities. This is the nature, because if you don't have an identity, you cannot be born. You cannot surrender what you don't have, and if you don't have anything to surrender, you cannot surrender. And enlightenment only comes from a complete and total surrender. So you must build up your monster that feels like it controls everything. And then you must have an event in which you surrender the monster. And you're mad at a monster? They're just going through their cycle. Oh, and then you have that remorse. Oh, my relatives are monsters. You'll lose sight of that, won't you? Because you just judged them. You just claimed that they were less than you. Aw, means they're less than me. I don't know how you spell it. Aw, that means they're less than you. Why not go, wow, wow, my relatives are monsters. And if I liberate 7 generations, which means I liberate monsters. Whoo! Wow. That's cool. Do you know how indebted to you they will be?